Companies use labor tracking to help monitor where employees work and how many hours and wages are earned in each labor account or cost center. This module will explain how to set up the labor levels and labor level entries. The first step to configuring Workforce Timekeeper is to define labor levels. Labor levels are a significant part of the labor tracking process. Labor levels serve as the foundation of Workforce Timekeeper and are used throughout the system. Labor levels are a significant part of the labor tracking process. Labor tracking provides an organization with a way to track hour and wage information based on a set of categories or levels. Labor tracking helps you monitor where employees work and how many hours and wages are earned in each labor account or cost center. Labor tracking can also be useful in determining where employee coverage should be increased or decreased. Labor levels are used for tracking hours, reporting totals, assigning employees to groups, providing security, streamlining hyperfine queries, and defining roll-up genies. Labor tracking requires labor levels, labor level entries, and labor accounts. Labor levels are the different areas that are used for tracking time and attendance information. Examples of labor levels include company, region, facility, division, department, cost center, and job. Up to 7 labor levels can be defined in the system. Customers can name their labor levels as they relate to their business. Ask the customer, on which information do you want to report? Do they have reports based on division, facility, job? Those might be a good clue as to which labor levels they will need to have created. Another way to look at what is used in their general ledger. If they report based on cost center, that might be a labor level as well. It is important that the labor levels are defined correctly from the initial implementation. Once created, it's very difficult to change your labor level structure. Let's take a closer look at these labor levels and see some examples of labor level entries for each. The labor level company might be used for a conglomerate like GE, where they may have many companies in areas like finance, entertainment, and healthcare. The labor level region may be used to identify certain areas of the world, country, etc. The labor level facility may be used to identify certain buildings where the companies operate. The labor level division may be used to identify logical groupings of the organization. One labor level entry from each labor level is combined to create a labor account. A labor account might be Fun Entertainment, in Europe, at the facility Carey House, in the division Service, and the department Training, in Cost Center 123 for the job Trainer. In this example, we have defined 4 labor levels: facility, division, department, and job. Each labor level has 2 labor level entries. However, labor levels typically have several, if not hundreds, of labor level entries. Notice the labor accounts take 1 labor level entry from each labor level. You can select any labor level entry from each labor level as long as each labor level is populated. Each employee must be assigned to a home labor account. By default, all hours worked accrue in the employee's home labor account. Employees or supervisors may transfer hours to different labor accounts. In our example, an employee could be assigned to labor account 101, 201, 301, 401. Said differently, the employee works in the North Facility, in the Research and Development Division, in the Research Department, and has an analyst job. The amount of time worked by all clerks in the Accounting Division, in the Payables Department, in the East Facility is represented by the labor account 102, 202, 302, 402. You can also get the same information for the North Facility, represented by the labor account 101, 202, 302, 402. Likewise, you could get information about the North Facility's Accounting Division, Research Department, and all of the time worked by their clerks. This is represented by the labor account 101, 202, 301, 402. In this limited example, you can see the flexibility of Kronos' labor tracking. Companies who want to see how many hours are worked in a particular department would use a labor level called Department and create entries for each department. For example, at Kronos we might create the following entries under the Department labor level: Global Support, Field Services, Education Services, QA, Development, and Pre-Sales. You cannot easily change the labor levels once they've been implemented. Because of this, you must understand the customer's environment by asking lots of questions to determine which labor levels to create. Once that's been determined, the first thing you create in the system is labor levels and labor level entries. Labor levels are used throughout Workforce Central. Remember that a labor level is a category that contains the labor level entries. Labor level entries, such as service or sales, can be created or inactivated at any time. However, it's very important that labor levels be defined correctly the first time. It is very difficult to change the labor level structure once created. As a recommended practice, create all 7 labor levels. Even if the customer doesn't use all 7 in the beginning, you can create the extra ones and call them future use or something along those lines. They can be renamed later if the customer decides to use them. It's important that labor levels be defined correctly from the initial implementation. It's difficult to change the labor level structure after Workforce Timekeeper has been put into a production environment. In this scenario, the customer has told us that their general ledger includes information about the company, division, department, cost center, and job code. Since there are only 5 labor levels, the customer has asked us to create 2 labor levels for future use between company and division and between department and cost center.
In this Show Me, you will watch as the following tasks are completed. Access the labor level building block from Workforce Central Setup and configure labor levels. In this scenario, we will create 7 labor levels based on the company's general ledger, including 2 for future use. Throughout this Show Me, click anywhere or use the navigation below to continue. The system configuration is performed by accessing the Setup Utility link. From the Organization Setup menu, select Labor Levels. Start by entering the most generic labor level. According to the company's GL, the highest level is Company. Enter the abbreviation for the first labor level as CO. Select the Insert New Row button to create the second labor level. For the second labor level, we will enter the name Future Use 1 because the organization's GL only has 5 labor levels. It can be renamed at a later date. Next, we must enter the abbreviation for our second labor level. Select the Insert New Row button to create the third labor level. According to the company's GL, the third labor level will be Division. The abbreviation for level 3 is DIV. Select the Insert New Row button to create labor level 4. Department will be the organization's 4th labor level according to the GL. The abbreviation for the 4th labor level will be DEPT. Select the Insert New Row button to create labor level number 5. This labor level will be reserved for future use because the GL only has 5 labor levels. It will be named Future Use 2. It can be renamed at a later date. We will now enter in the abbreviation for our 5th labor level. Select the Insert New Row button to create labor level number 6. The organization's GL indicates Cost Center will be the 6th labor level. NCC will be the abbreviation. Select the Insert New Row button to create the last labor level. The 7th labor level will be Job Code according to the organization's GL. The abbreviation for Job Code will be Job. Once the last abbreviation has been entered, select Save. That completes this demonstration. When you're ready to exit, close your browser window by clicking the X in the upper right corner.
Labor level entries are the available choices for each labor level. For example, if I have a labor level called Region, you can specify labor level entries that describe the specific regions, such as Northeast, Southwest, Midwest, and so on. Every labor level must have at least one labor level entry, and there is no limit to the number of labor level entries that can be created. Labor level entries can be used at a terminal, in the time card, and in the schedule. When you create labor level entries, use names that the data collection devices will accept. Some devices only recognize numbers, while other devices recognize alphanumeric characters. Some older devices will not download labor level entries if there is a space in the labor level entry name. Refer to the data collection device documentation for more information. Labor level entries are added to each labor level. Labor level entries include all possible facilities, divisions, departments, and jobs in an organization, as an example. Examples of labor level entries for the job labor level might include shipping clerk, floor nurse, or cashier. Each labor level entry has a name and a description. In the case of floor nurse, the labor level entry name is 144. The description is floor nurse. Descriptions for labor level entries appear in the time card editor when a manager moves the mouse over an employee's name in the header or a labor account in the Total and Schedules tab. When performing a labor account transfer, in the time card editor, schedule, or Workforce Genie, a manager can search by name or description. Labor level entries can be imported into the system using Workforce Connect or added manually through the user interface. Remember that an unlimited number of labor level entries can be defined. And ad hoc labor level entries can be added through the Timekeeper terminal if the labor level is configured to allow it. Labor level entries are the available choices for each labor level. Every labor level must have at least one labor level entry, and there's no limit to the number of labor level entries that can be created. The system generates one unspecified labor level entry in each labor level. This can be used as a placeholder if the labor level entries have not been created, so the labor level can be used. By default, it's a hyphen, but it can be edited. In this scenario, the customer has provided us the entries to be created for department, cost center, and job code. You will see how those labor level entries are created for each of these labor levels.
In the Show Me, you will watch as the following tasks are completed. Access the labor level entry building block from Workforce Central Setup, and configure labor level entries. In this scenario, we will create labor level entries for the labor levels that Starlight Cafe uses to account for their employees' time. Throughout the Show Me, click anywhere or use from the Setup Utility link, find the Organizational Setup Content menu and select Labor Level Entries. The first labor level, Company, appears by default. In the New Entry section, enter the name, which is typically a numeric value. Enter 101. In the next field, enter the description for the labor level entry. In this case, we'll enter Starlight Cafe. Click the Add to List button to add this labor level entry to the labor level company. Notice the new entry is listed for the labor level company. Select the Save button. To add a labor level entry for another labor level, select the down arrow next to Company. We will not be adding entries to the two future use labor levels. We will, however, select the division labor level. Notice that the entry list still contains the entries for Company. Click Search to activate the division labor level and display a list of labor level entries for division. Notice that there are no labor level entries for the labor level division. In the New Entry section, enter the name, which is normally a numeric value so it can be entered at a terminal. We will enter 301. Next, enter the description for the labor level entry. In this case, we'll enter Food Service. Click the Add to List button to add this labor level entry to the labor level division. The labor level entry for Food Service now appears in the entry list. Let's add a second one. In the New Entry section, enter the name 302. In the description field, we will enter Finance. Click the Add to List button to add this labor level entry. Next, select the Save button. To add a labor level entry for a different labor level, select the drop-down arrow for Division. Select the labor level Department, and then click on Search to activate the Department labor level. Notice that there are no labor level entries for the labor level department. In the New Entry section, enter the name as 401. Then enter the name Back of House. Lastly, select the Add to List button to add this labor level entry. Verify the labor level entry for Back of House appears in the list. We'll now add another one. Our next entry will have the name 402. In the labor level entry description, we will enter Front of House. Click on Add to List to add the labor level entry. Don't forget to click on Save to save our new entries. We still need to add additional entries. Click on the drop-down arrow for Department and select Cost Center. Click on Search to activate and add labor level entries. Notice that there are no labor level entries for Cost Center. Our first name will be 601. Our description for entry 601 is Kitchen. Click the Add to List button to add this labor level entry to the labor level Cost Center. The labor level entry for Kitchen now appears in the entry list. Our next entry will be 602. Our description will be Servers. We then click on the Add to List button, and then click on Save. We still need to add labor level entries to our job code labor level. Select the down arrow for Cost Center, and select the job code labor level. Once again, the entry list still contains the entries for the previous labor level. Click on Search to activate the job code labor level. The first job code we will enter is 701. Our labor level entry description is Supervisor. Click on Add to List. The labor level entry for Supervisor now appears in the entry list. Our next labor level entry is 702. Our description is going to be chef. Click on the Add to List button. Both supervisor and chef now appear in the entry list. Our last job code will have a name of 703 and a description of waitstaff. Click on Add to List, then click on Save. All of our entries have now been saved. Remember, to see other labor level entries, you need to change the labor level. Let's select Company, then click on Search. Now our company labor level entry is displayed. That completes this demonstration. When you're ready to exit, close your browser window by clicking X in the upper right corner.
A labor account consists of one labor level entry from each labor level. Each employee must be assigned to a home labor account. By default, all worked hours accrue in the employee's home labor account. Employees or supervisors may transfer hours to a different labor account. An employee is assigned a primary labor account. This is also known as their home labor account. By default, all hours will be charged to the employee's primary labor account. If an employee should charge their hours to another department, then a labor account transfer should be completed at the terminal, in the time card, or in the schedule. To view an employee's primary labor account in the time card, you can hover the mouse over the employee's name. When a labor account transfer is entered, the transferred hours will show in the Totals and Schedule tab with an X preceding the labor account. In this example, the employee has transferred to the labor account 102, 203, 321, 403, 505. When transferring to only one different labor level entry, a slash can be used to assume the default labor level entry. This helps by only requiring the different labor level entries to be keyed in. Notice in this time card that only the job is displayed for the transfer. The home accounts are used for the other levels. In this scenario, we will view the employee's home account, perform a labor account transfer in the time card, and view the transfer indicator. In this scenario, we will view the employee's home account, perform a transfer in the time card, and notice the transfer indicator. Click Find in Quick Find to view a list of employees. Select the Test Employee, and select the People Quick link. Select the Job Assignment tab. Select the Primary Account page. Notice the employee's home account. When no other labor level entry is specified, this is where the employee's time will be tracked. Select the Time Card Quick link. Notice Thursday's totals. All hours are charged to the employee's home account. When an edit is made to the employee's time card to add a labor account transfer, notice the X under the Totals and Schedule tab. This indicates the time was transferred to an account that is not the employee's primary or home labor account. Let's change the scenario slightly. The employee will work some hours in their home account and will transfer to another job for a portion of the day. Delete the labor transfer. Delete the 5 p.m. out punch. Add an 11 a.m. in punch. And select the drop-down box to insert a transfer. Select Search. You could enter a labor level entry for each labor level here. However, we're only transferring the employee's job. Select Job Code. Because we didn't select entries for the other labor levels, the home account entries will be used for these levels. Select Phone Operator and click OK. Enter a 5 p.m. out punch. Save the employee's time card. Notice the 11 a.m. purple out punch. This punch is purple because the system generated it. It closes the employee's first span of time from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. when the employee worked in their home account. The 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. span is in the transferred account. Notice under the Totals and Schedule tab that 2 hours are in the home account and 5.5 hours are in the transferred account. You can tell this is the transferred account because of the X indicator.
That completes this demonstration. When you're ready to exit, close your browser window by clicking X in the
A labor level set is a grouping of one or more labor level entries from each labor level that a manager or employee can use to transfer. It's the list of employees to which the manager has access. When looking at the labor level set in this example, notice that job has an asterisk for the value of labor level entry. This means that any labor level entry from that labor level is allowed. Labor level sets are created in one place and used in many different areas of the product. Labor level sets can be used to determine which employees a manager has access. This is also known as the manager's all-home hyperfind. The employee is a group defined in the manager's people record. Under the Job Assignment tab, Manager Role General section. The employee group is made up of any employee who has a primary labor account filtered by the labor level set and, if selected, any employee who transfers into this manager's employee group. This employee group defines who appears when the manager uses the All-Home Hyperfind Genie. The employee's labor level transfer set is assigned in the people record to restrict which labor level entries the employee can transfer. The employee's primary account must be within their job transfer set. The employee's labor level transfer set is defined in the employee's people record, Job Assignment tab, Employee Role section. For example, a nurse might have the ability to transfer to operating room nurse and to charge nurse. The nurse most likely will not have the job of maintenance person in their transfer set. The manager's labor level transfer set is assigned in the people record to restrict to which labor at level entries the manager can transfer their employees. This overrides the employee's labor level transfer set when the manager performs the transfer. The manager's labor level transfer set is defined in the manager's people record, Job Assignment tab, Manager Role General section. Continuing with the previous example, if the nurse's manager had maintenance person in their labor level transfer set, they could transfer the nurse to the maintenance job even though the employee could not do the transfer for themselves. In this scenario, we will configure a labor level set and understand where it's used in the application.
In the Show Me, you will watch as the following tasks are completed. Access the labor level set from Organizational Setup, and also configure labor level sets. In this scenario, we will create a labor level set where managers and employees will be able to transfer to. This set will also be used for the manager to have access to the employees in the front of the house. Throughout this Show Me, from the Setup Utility link, find the Organization Setup Content menu and select Labor Level Sets. Notice that there are two labor level sets created by default. The All Labor Accounts set contains all labor level entries, and the Empty Profile does not contain any labor level entries. Let's start by selecting the New button. Company is the default labor level displayed. The asterisk indicates the employee and supervisor will have access to all labor level entries under Company. We will start by selecting the labor level Division. The labor level entries for Division appear. We will select the labor level entry for Food Service and then click on the Add button, which is below. Next, we will select the labor level Department. For Department, we will select Front of House, then we will hold down the Control key on the keyboard and select Order Entry. This will allow us to enter multiple entries at once. To add both entries, we click on Add. Notice both entries are now under the selected entries. Let's continue by clicking on Cost Center. For Cost Center, we will select Servers, then we will hold down the Control key on the keyboard and select Delivery, and also Packaging. Once again, we will click on Add. Notice all three labor level entries are now under the selected entries. We will now select our last labor level, Job Code. We will select three entries again, starting with Supervisor, then hold down the Control key on the keyboard and select Waitstaff, and finally select Phone Operator. Click on Add to add the entries. Lastly, we will select the Save and Close button to save our selections. A pop-up window appears so we can name this labor level set. Since the entries relate to the front of the restaurant, in other words not in the kitchen or finance area, we will name it front of house and then click on OK to save it. Notice that the labor level set has been saved and is in the list ready to be assigned later. That completes this demonstration. When you're ready to exit, close your browser window by clicking X in the